This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Sheila Fogarty.
Hello, good afternoon to you. Some news stories, you may disagree it's a news story, but I think it is one. Some news stories appear, and I really want, more than anything else, to be around a lunch table with my girlfriends mainly, and a glass of wine, and just talk it through. Just thrash it out, what it means, what it's all about. And Melania's jacket is one such story. If you haven't seen Melania's jacket, and you're wondering what the heck I'm on about, it's a very simple khaki green parka jacket with a drawstring belt at the middle. Very classic sort of parka jacket. It's from Zara, so a high street parka jacket. And on the back, in what looks like sort of plain white paint or heavy Tipex, is a statement completely across the back that says, by the way, just importantly, she wore it to go and visit one of those detention centres / tender age units / whatever they are, whatever the Trump administration is trying to describe them as, these places where these children are being kept separately from their parents. She wore it to such a place. And it says on the back, "I really don't care. Do you?" Now, I just want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about what that means, because as she walked up the steps of Air Force One, I mean, it's a really... You know the way the balcony scene at Buckingham Palace is an absolute sort of definitive British public life image. Whoever's on the balcony, it's a definitive image of British public life, of the British state. Well, a real expression of the American state is the president and his wife walking up and down the steps of Air Force One, isn't it? They walk up, they wave from the top, or they walk down at some important visit that they're making. That image as they walk up is really iconic. So she, in my view, knew what she was doing. Who she's sending the message to is up for debate. I think she's sending a message to everyone who's criticised her and accused her and her husband of not caring about these children or being cruel to these children. That's who I think the message is for. I don't think it's aimed at the children at the camp in particular, but I think it shows gross insensitivity to those children. It shows gross insensitivity to the discussion being had about immigration and what to do about it at that border, to wear such a jacket when you have the role of First Lady, when that's your job. So I think that's who she's sending the message to. I really don't care. Brackets, what you say and what you think. Do you? And then a challenge to the world, to those people. Do you care about these kids? If so, do something about it. Because her original statement, which to my annoyance really has been described as being critical of her husband's policy, I just don't think it was critical of her husband's policy. Her initial statement said, "I hate to see children being separated from their parents." It didn't say, "My husband and his colleagues made this decision and he can unmake it, and it's terrible and it's appalling and I can't believe he's doing it." She didn't say any of those things. So she knows how to send a message, and she knows that everything she wears sends a message, because she barely speaks. I don't mean she can't speak. I mean, just in public life, she doesn't say very much. It's not really her role to say very much. There's no defined description of what the First Lady's role is anyway. But this jacket, I mean, I think it's beyond crass. I immediately want to go out and buy a plain green parka and write all kinds of things on the back of it myself as a kind of childish statement, protest, which I know isn't big or clever, but that's how it makes me feel. I just can't believe that she did that. What do you think she was doing? And do you think she did it knowingly? She's not stupid, is she? Well, she's married to Trump, so anything's possible. 0345 606 0973, the number to call. You can text 84850 or tweet at LBC. Jennifer Cassidy joins me, a lecturer in politics at Oxford and a woman with a PhD on diplomatic signals. This felt a bit like an undiplomatic signal in a way. And Rita Clifton joins us as well, a brand specialist. Hi, Rita.
Yeah, hello.
Right, let's start with the brand specialist, because First Lady is a brand, isn't it? And it's a brand you make for yourself.
Yes, it is. I mean, look, having slogans and logos on clothing is not obviously a new idea, but no matter what the real motivation, frankly, if any, this is just a serious error of judgment. I mean, in the political sphere, there are usually armies of PR people and assistants to stop you making screw-ups, when they're slipping on a banana or inappropriate baseball hat, standing in front of the exit, all that sort of stuff. But this is such a sensitive moment. And, Melania Trump is supposed to be the beautiful and caring face of brand Trump. And you wear a slogan that says, I don't care. If you're building a personal brand in some way, shape or form, particularly such a sensitive political sphere, you've got to think about everything that you do, you say, you show, you wear, because otherwise people respond to the glimpse test. And what's more, on social media in a digital world, it never gets forgotten.
The glimpse test, what's that?
The glimpse test, well, of course, not everybody is going to spend hours really, really thinking about things very deeply or really sort of reading all the background and everything else. They are going to get their impressions from what is in front of them, as a splash on the screen or as a newspaper headline or whatever. And unfortunately, this incident has given, detractors real ammunition to go, that's what I thought, just so typical, and frankly, if she wasn't thinking about it, she must be stupid too. It is just giving people ammunition. Now, for some people, they'll be thinking, I don't think that's such a bad thing, but for others, you just think this is dumb, and surely some advisors should have got in the way.
Jennifer Cassidy, what was your first thought when you saw it?
Shocked beyond measure, and you would think that I wouldn't be shocked or no one would be shocked as we've seen this presidency progress, but it just seems every day we're getting something new. For me, it kind of boils down to there's three kind of outcomes, and the first is we have the option of it is literally just a jacket, and the second is well, it's a message to Trump, and the third is well, it's a message to us. But the worrying thing about it is, regardless of those scenarios, no matter which one you pick, we have a worrying situation on our hands, because as you have alluded to before, if it literally is just a jacket, then I don't know what's worse, the oversight and the kind of ignorance of the subject and the matter she was dealing with. That in itself is such an underlying issue that we have to worry about.
And
is horrendous.
And her spokeswoman said, or her communications director, Stephanie Grisham, told a reporter via email, it's a jacket, there's no hidden message. Well, no one's suggesting that it's hidden, are they?
Hidden. It's in absolutely no way hidden. And I said, I tweeted today saying, as mentioned, I did a PhD on diplomatic signals, and I was like, you don't need a PhD or any type of education to know that this is not, there's no hidden meaning, and it's blatantly written on her jacket. But so I think even allowing that kind of conversation or that argument breadth that it's just a jacket is extremely disrespectful to the public and disrespects our intelligence to the nth degree. As we've seen examples all across the first ladies of history using fashion as a tool for diplomacy. You just have to look at Madeleine Albright's pins. She wrote an entire book about how the accessories tell a tale and are a symbol for her outfit. So, this is news to no one that fashion is a diplomatic tool. So to say that she didn't know is it just doesn't fly, and I won't accept that argument or that line of thought.
Who do you say it was being sent to, Rita? The message?
Well, I mean, if it was sent to anybody, then it was sent, it seems to me, to the media. It feeds the conversation about fake news and so on, but this was the wrong moment, the wrong time, the wrong platform saying that. And I have to say, there are other incidents of screw-ups of a sartorial kind surrounding Melania Trump.
Heels in the floodplains.
All the floodplains, yes. Going out to visit victims, wearing stiletto shoes. I mean, this is obviously jacketgate. That was stiletto-gate. I mean, there might well be some other occasions, but it just goes to prove that, again, in a digital world where whatever you say and do gets spread on a scale and at a speed that takes your breath away, you've got to think about everything. A, what are you trying to project here? Secondly, how does everything that you are presenting yourself in front of, around, what you're wearing, what you're saying, and so on, how do all these things hang together? And I know that sounds, orchestrated, etc., but frankly, that is how the digital world is working, and particularly, of course, it's how the diplomatic and political world works as well. And that's why you've got a lot of people, whether it's going to be Mr. Putin with a bare chest showing he's very manly, or, when you get older presidents looking as though they're out in running gear and so on. These things are, of course, deliberately staged, and they are staged for a reason, because as a leader or as a leader leader's spouse or whatever, you are part of a political brand and you need to try and say the right thing.
It's a middle finger to the world, isn't it, Jennifer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. And the concept of diplomatic ambiguous signals is interwoven with the history of diplomacy. So I think even if they were trying to send some sort of ambiguous signal, they got it completely wrong. And what the positive or what the draw is for ambiguous signals, which have worked very well throughout history, may I say, but it's that you have the option to say, well, I never said that, or that's not what I intended, or you're reading into it wrong. So perhaps they could have been playing to that, but it went completely off the mark if that was the case. But it is, as you rightly said, it is a middle finger to the world. And I just think, what else? It's the blatant and public disrespect and her demonstration that she doesn't care. Look, I think we all know that if she has stuck with the president through all of this, that she doesn't care. And that's not really, I think, what we're after. I myself personally don't care if Melania is invested in this or not. But what's worrying to me is the blatant and public disrespect that is being shown. That's a worrying trend that we see in authoritarian regimes as they build and build and build.
Excuse me, it brought to mind to me Asma al-Assad when she goes from school to school. She went to schools in the early days of the war and would walk into little junior schools with little kids there and their teachers and announce that the school was closing because of the war, and they'd start crying, and then she'd say, "Only kidding."
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's worrying.
And I think what's also concerning here is that, Melania Trump really has been there to soften and glamorise the Trump brand insofar as it might be, almost to sort of counteract the brutishness that people might attach to that. And, and again, this is a crass mistake. And you think if it was deliberate, it is ludicrous. If it was accidental, you really think, someone somewhere should have thought about this. It's not just a sartorial statement.
If it's accidental, you've got a brain full of candy floss, haven't you, really?
Well, that's right. It's either dark or it's candy floss, and neither of those two options are particularly
appealing or reassuring. Thank you to both of you, Rita Clifton, a brand specialist, and to Jennifer Cassidy, lecturer in politics at Oxford, did a PhD on diplomatic signals. Do you remember another example of it? Powerful women, wherever their power comes from, they send messages through their clothes. Powerful men do it differently, I think, but powerful women do often use their clothing to do it. You remember back in 1994 when the Princess of Wales appeared at the Serpentine Gallery at a summer party at the Serpentine. Do you remember this? In this extraordinary, beautiful black dress, off-the-shoulder dress, looking $1 million. And it was the same night that a documentary aired in which Prince Charles confessed to his affair with Camilla Parker Bowles back in the 90s, if you were around for those days. It was such a statement of, I'm doing fine, thanks, and by the way, I look $1 million. It was one of those moments. What was this moment? What was Melania's moment in this extraordinary jacket, or ordinary jacket, with an extraordinary message on the back of it? I really don't care. Do you?